All right, folks, it's time. This is June 18th, regular board meeting in Crystal Lake Township. Please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call when you're ready.
Right? Here. VanMeter here. Ferris
Here.
Marvel
Here.
Weber here.
Thank you. Do we have any amendments to the agenda? Then I move that we adopt the agenda as presented. Do I have support?
Sure. Who said sure?
Me. Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Next is conflict of interest. Does anyone wish to express a conflict of interest? Anything on the agenda? Let the record show there's none. We have the first minutes to approve. Draft is in front of you for May 21st. It's the regular meeting. I'm gonna move that we accept it with no amendments. I didn't see anything.
I didn't see anything, you did amendments.
I didn't either.
If you didn't see any, then there aren't any, you know. If Sonia didn't see any and you didn't see any, they're perfect.
Okay, so I'm gonna move that we accept the minutes of May 21st, 2025 as presented. Do I have support?
Second.
Thank you, Greg. Any comments?
No.
I think we can just do the consensus here. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Second set of minutes is June 12th. It was a special meeting. You've got those minutes in front of you. I'm gonna go ahead and again say, I move that we accept them as presented.
I'll second that.
Any comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. Oh, we are moving right along.
Pretty tough stuff.
We had two really controversial pieces of correspondence. One was thanking us for her raise from Jeanette Healy, who is our transcription or recording secretary for the Planning Commission. The second one is from Kristen Pencil, and she was thanking us for letting the high schoolers come and work in the cemetery. So how's that for controversial? And it was a nice day for them to be working. It wasn't too cold, but it was, you should see the kids. They're working, scrubbing the gravestones, and their fingers were bright red from the cold. So those were our two pieces of correspondence. Any comment on those? Next we have County Commission report. And our county commissioner is not here. Am I just forgetting something?
No, I just wanted to say that if you would like me to present the highlights that she commented at the city council meeting last night, I can do that.
I would like you to do that.
Okay. The Board of Commissioners on May 16th moved to authorize a formal recommendation for budget allocation and collaborative arrangement with the Benzie Area Chamber of Commerce. They approved a contract with BSNA Software for migration to the cloud, and this will be 3 times the current cost plus a one-time migration fee. In the past, the county has strongly encouraged townships to move to this software platform to encourage ease of treasurer's office to help. Contract is for 3 years. They reviewed the Michigan Thrive priorities for the Northwest region for the 2024-2026 cycle. Gathered data from existing statistics, listened to residents, and learned from community partners, including healthcare providers. Top 3 for our region was access to healthcare, mental health, and economic security. They discussed rabies and bats. Last year, 48 bats tested positive for rabies in Michigan. Fall vaccine clinic dates will be announced soon. COVID-19 vaccine recommendations have changed. Personal health staff at the health department, have been filling in for staff cuts. Nurses are answering the phones and scheduling appointments. So they're gonna try a doorbell system that seems to work at the Leelanau office. They had a truth and taxation public hearing at their June 10th meeting. And they adopted, and I didn't catch all of this, Jill, they adopted the 3.3299 mils for something, but I didn't catch it.
Their millage rate for next year.
Okay, all right.
Millage. Oh.
Yeah. They approved the memorandum of understanding between the county and city of Frankfort and CLT. They discussed the need for fundraising for the Point Betsy Lighthouse. She mentioned EMS renovations,
What was that?
the EMS renovation.
Yes, the new building that they're going to.
And recommended Fishbeck's bid proposal in the amount of $190,000 for approval by the county approval agencies. Fishbeck was the clear choice to the committee via rubric. And Trudy Gale is the one that's part of this. I didn't quite get what the bid is for.
Isn't that for the topic before it? It's about the solid waste
Yep.
management?
I don't know.
It is.
And her husband is part of that Benzie area recycling.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she gave a quick report last week.
And an interesting article on vital health services at risk in Michigan. So, thank you. Any questions about the county commissioners report or Judy's summary of it? Good. Okay, moving right along, we've got Mr. Mike with fire and rescue.
Hey, stand up.
Sure. And you know the usual, speak loudly, so,
So you can hear
yeah.
me. Hello. First and foremost, we had 8 EMS runs in May and 4 fire runs. And response time was 6 minutes for the EMS and 7 minutes for the fire. June 25th, as of June right now, I checked this morning. You've got 5 EMS runs and 5 fire runs. So we've had a few calls this month. Actually, at one time we were averaging 2.4 calls a day. So it was moving along. The fire call, there's a breakdown of the fire calls that we have and some of the medical calls. They want to know where they came from. I think I give you both spreadsheets of everything that's happening
Yeah, we have.
and your breakdown in the area. Currently, I said, talk about some of the training and equipment that we talked about, brought that up. All of our vehicles have been DOT inspected and all the preventive maintenance has been done, oil changes and whatnot have been along with it. One of the things the DOT inspection that came up was that some of the tires that we have are need to be replaced. So we're gonna have to work on that in the future, replacing tires. And we have like 401 kept on clunking when we were turning. We found out that the springs were the leaf springs on them need to be probably they need to be replaced. So that's coming up.
I circled the technical term there, yeah.
Yeah.
We had a clunk.
What a clunk, what a clunk. Yeah, that it was. So that's being worked on. And then we talked about some of the community relations that are happening and just jump into June on July 2nd. There's a little camp going on over at the elementary. They have a summer camp. And so I've been asked to talk to them about fire safety and water safety. And so I did a little presentation I built for them. I'm gonna go and do that at 10 o'clock in the morning on the 2nd. So if anybody has grandkids or children over there at the elementary, we'll be there. One of the happy notes here, people often approach us and thank us for our service. We appreciate it. We appreciate that. However, sometimes you get that awkward look from us. So you're thanking us because we love what we do. And our response is to help people. When I teach classes, number one question I always ask the students, and I even put it up on a questionnaire, is why did you join the fire service? Well, I want to help you. And that's great. That's the kind of people we're looking for. So we understand that You know, sometimes we get called when there's somebody's first day and we try to help. Sometimes we can, there are times that we can't. And what keeps us moving forward is the people that we serve, our community. When it gets stressful, we talk, we banter, we laugh. Sometimes we do some shenanigans around the department. There's some shenanigans that go on in the department. Sometimes I have to stop us. And sometimes even say a solemn prayer for the family or the person that we just visited. One of the things that the solemn prayer, this came in my mail yesterday, my mailbox yesterday, and I kind of wanted to touch on it. For those of you who know, we had North Flight come in. It was a helicopter that landed on the 28th out here at the airport. And they said, thank you for assisting North Flight AeroMed on 5/28 of 25. We appreciate your involvement in the care of the patient. Our flight crews was Andrew, Brennan, and Nate. I want to take this opportunity to provide you with specific information from the crew regarding the patient's care and transfer. This was a 29-year-old male that had fallen off the ladder. And he fell off the ladder head first. So it was immediately top priority. So thank you for contacting the North Flight AeroMed to assist you in a critical trauma patient. Patient was intubated under RSI on scene and given 3% saline for suspected increase in cranial, intracranial pressure. Patient was kept sedated and ventilated with ketamine and fentanyl push. Patient was transported to Munson Medical Center, Traverse City, and was handed over to the trauma team and the emergency department staff. Thank you for this flight request. This is one where we say a little prayer for the family because we hope it all goes well. I don't know what the outcome was, but all that we never really know unless somebody tells us they ran into that person. But that's what we do, why we do. Also, if you ever go on our Facebook page, and I think looking at my numbers here, there is a lot of Rory O'Grady was home from the service on leave for 30 days. And I asked him to help me out, put out a perception form or a perception questionnaire using Google Forms. And so it's in our website. If you look at our Facebook page, City of Frankfort Fire and Rescue, you'll see something that says FFD perception form. And currently right now, let's see, Crystal Lake Township is 24.5% of you've already responded to this. So it's kind of good to get this perception, be it good or bad. I like that perception. Why? Because it only makes us process improvement better. And one of the things, even for the negative comments, they're in there. And I don't think you see any of the comments, but one of the things that, because it's all once it's submitted, nobody else can read them and keep on expounding. As we know, Facebook can sometimes become a string of a response. Well, one of the things that I want to stress to everybody here is, we see some of the negative comments, and to a fault, some of them have merit. Have we improved since then? The question is absolutely. Process improvement has occurred in each and every after action review. We have an incident, we have an after action review. And through these learned best practices, we achieve the goal of becoming better tomorrow than we were today. So it's not like they're ignored, they're just part of the improvement process. Anybody have any questions?
The pancake breakfast.
Pancake breakfast, we learned it wasn't as good as we had anticipated. And I think a lot of it was just getting the word on out. It was 2 minutes, we had 2 weeks to react. And it was a little bit difficult to scramble to get together. I sat down and talked to Jim Niederhofer and I talked to Nick, and we all agreed that we want to get together and set up another time where we can try to, figure this out in the long run. He's thinking maybe do another one in December. You're thinking maybe one in the fall. We got to get together with our minds to figure out what direction we want to go and then get the word out as much as possible to the public. I mean, I was upset because even a Rotary member came in and says, you didn't even mention anything in the Rotary about. I said, well, I wanted to, but I got caught on a 3-hour power line down over on Malino. So I couldn't get to that meeting to let everybody know. But he says, if they would have known, they would have, some of the members would have come on. So it's, and then it's a learning experience, like every time it's process improvement. How we make it better the next time, so we did. Any other questions?
I can't imagine anybody said anything negative.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
This is Facebook, so you know, you're gonna get some things that are not gonna be perfect, but needless to say, part of a process improvement. You know, yes,
on your first page, you've put the call information breakdown is for Gilmore.
Gilmore Township, aren't I great? I noticed that when I'm reading that, so I can't believe I did it.
So I wondered if the figures are for Gilmore or if
They're
they're for
yours.
Crystal, okay.
I didn't change out Gilmore. My bad. And I'll go to Alberta tonight and I'll say, is this for Gilmore Township? I'm sorry.
As always, thank you,
Thanks.
whether you love doing it or not.
Thanks,
Thank
Chief.
Yep, that's right.
Yes.
We have public comment at this time. Anyone in the audience?
Sandra?
Hold on.
Was there somebody behind me or? Okay, I looked on your website to find out, you know, what your agenda was going to be for tonight. And I was very impressed with the articles that followed. I don't know who does that, but it was very informative of different things that are going on in the township. So we might have to do something like that. It's kind of like a newsletter, you know, in.
Well, thank you from the board. It's a board
You work
collaborative.
hard on the website.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah, so I was very impressed and I really enjoyed reading through all of the things.
Thanks.
That's how we know what's going on here. So,
Sounds good. And that was Joanne Holwerda, by the way, for the
yes,
record,
I'm sorry.
in case nobody knows who she is.
I'm very touchy about that in our meetings. I'm bad.
Anyone else from the public?
Me,
All right.
Sandra Halliday, Crystal Lake Township resident, I have to say it's been weighing very heavy on my heart that we really have not recognized our #1 volunteer. So I just wanted to say thank you to Dave Sprague.
And we never want to hear again that you're unappreciated.
You did. Yay, Dave.
I'll get a picture of you later for
We
the
appreciate
next
you.
newsletter. Dave, we do appreciate you. It's not a joke. It's a true, sincerely felt emotion. So, any other public comment before I close that? Yes,
I
Rich.
just quickly read through that, MOU, but the end part of it where it talks about if you guys decide you can't finance the airport anymore and the property's gonna go back to the city and all that stuff, very unlikely that would happen. The FAA has spent so much money on this place and because of its location, it would probably be taken over by them. And if they run it, they would have the freedom to expand any of the approaches to the levels they wanted. So you've got to understand that you can't just get rid of the airport by just deciding you don't want to pay for it anymore. It won't go away that easily. And what you get in return may be something that would be harder for the community to even understand why all the approaches are bigger and houses have to be torn down and things like that. Okay, so there may be more to it if you decide at some point in time to get out. It might not be as clean as what your memorandum says.
Well, I think, I'm sorry, this actually isn't a discussion period, but
Yeah.
and I'll answer that when we get that to the airport. Would you like to say something?
Nope.
Oh,
Good.
okay,
All right, when you get there, thanks.
yeah.
Thank you, Rich.
And yeah, do you have the spelling of his last name?
I can get it from other minutes, unless he wrote on the,
Yeah, I did.
yeah, I'll get it from there.
All
I know it
right.
starts with an R.
Well, I always confuse you with Rickenbacker.
Close enough.
Another great pilot,
Yes,
right?
there we go.
So, at this time, financials.
Summary for the end of May, general fund, we had about $922,562. The cemetery fund in the checking account had $30,778. And with the perpetual Augustine and Grand Traverse Foundation, the total checking and savings is $384,000. Fire fund sitting on $217,000 and the road fund has $735,835. So we're in great shape. And taxes just exported today, so we get to start over again.
Warrant report, when you're ready. Thank you, Jill.
The original one was sent on Friday, then I edited it when we received more bills on Monday, and then we received more bills since Monday. So I'm gonna edit it again tonight. We got, legal services bill from Foster Swift. And, a mileage reimbursement for the treasurer. So we're going to be adding to the general fund, $20,511.66, which brings the new total for the general fund to $32,036.44. For the cemetery fund, we have $6,642.05 and no expenses for fire and road. I move that we accept the warrant report as amended.
I will second you.
Any discussion? All right, just paying attention to lawyers' bills, the Elon Financial Services, I'm assuming is the name of our,
Visa. For state savings.
It says SSB Visa in the
Yeah.
parentheses.
right, I'm just checking and making sure that.
I was distinguishing it from the other Visa,
Yeah.
which is down at the
Pretty
bottom.
soon we'll be down to one.
Yes, soon, yeah.
Yep.
And then also how much it costs for cleanup day is pretty significant. It's up to 61, almost $6,200. So, okay, any other discussion? Go ahead and take roll call.
Weber,
Yes.
Ferris,
Yes.
VanMeter, yes, Marble,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Comes probably the largest single topic of the evening. You've got a couple of things in front of you. Shall we just acknowledge the budget change? I don't think that I should have put a star on there because there's no anticipated action to be taken over this new budget. They extended or they changed their budget fiscal year so that the budget had to reflect the new fiscal year. And this budget will have 3 more months than it normally would have. So that's what it is. Everybody understands that?
Yep.
Any other questions or comments about that? Okay.
Do you want to see a copy of the amended budget plus next year? So you got it.
I think we printed it out.
Yeah, Brooks and,
That's the new one. Okay.
yeah,
So. Then we go to the MOU. So you've got 2 documents in front of you, one stapled several pages. It's got the memorandum of understanding and its prior version. And you've got the single piece of paper, which is the resolution to adopt it. So, Judy, you're gonna take the lead in this?
all 3 entities have spent a lot of time and a lot of legal money
Back and forth.
back and forth, and we've had several different versions of the MOU. The county, like I said before, did pass this version of the MOU and the city passed it last night. This is an agreement between the 3 entities, not including the airport authority, just the entities. It reaffirms sections of the prior memorandum of understanding and then adds new provisions related to the voluntary funding. It's specific about the airport manager submitting the annual budget to the 3 entities for their review in assisting to determine the figure for the voluntary contributions. And the word equal was added in the memorandum of understanding to solidify that the the contributions by all the entities will be an equal amount. Equal number. A lot of the language in the MOU is from the Community Airports Act of 1957. And like Rich said, there's a paragraph that talks about the property. Number 7. And this updates and replaces the original memorandum of understanding, and it'll be reviewed every 5 years. What it does is solidify where we stand. Right now, the bylaws state a lot of this, but the bylaws can be changed by the airport authority. But it adds additional clarity regarding our rights and obligations as a member of the airport authority. I guess.
So you
questions?
move,
Yes, I do.
you're gonna read it?
Yes. Now therefore, the Crystal Lake Township Board approves and authorizes Supervisor Ferris to sign the 2025 Memorandum of Understanding regarding the Frankfort City County Airport Authority, subject to its form by legal counsel and contingent upon all entity/member representatives approving and signing the document. I so move.
Do you have a second?
I second it.
Discussion.
I think a lot of time has been spent on it. I think Dave did an excellent job ferreting out the legal stuff.
It's been part of my life for the last 4 months. But to address the property, the first version that we were given, basically, it took the old memorandum of understanding that was about the formation of the airport, that had language about transferring the property from the city, etc. Things that had already been done, so I don't know why they were in the proposed new one. But part of that, all the property came from the city. So that said, if they close, it all goes back to the city. So at that point, only the city contributed property was the airport. Since that time, there's been additions. So that was the main reason to change that, was to acknowledge both the cities, and I think the city's deeds have say in the deeds that it reverts to them. And then,
I think you've been really clear, and so has Judy, that, and Rich just said the same thing, that the likelihood anybody is going to that the FAA is gonna let this airport close is slim and none.
yeah, and so that was, the other addition was to acknowledge that, it just said if it closes in the old, the FAA decides what happens. And like you said, you can't just walk away from it. There are like 4 levels of airports. One of the first 2, you can't close. They would deny it. I think there's a 37-page thing. I forget what they call it. It's a letter to the folks that have to decide whether to close them or not. Really fun reading. But so yeah, if they would come in, and even if they did agree to close it, they would want to get the money that they put in it, which at this point would be about, what do we say, $3 million or something. So if they wanted to close it, they would definitely take over the property and then decide what to do with that. So
And easily get 3 million for it,
probably.
a lot more.
And so, main reason for putting that in there without a lot of detail was just to acknowledge the fact that the FAA decides what the airport closes or not. And I think Corey did a good job explaining that. And I want to say Joanne, Sue, and Judy did a great job of helping this get through at the county by working out some last minute details and then explaining it. So once again, I want to thank others because I didn't have to do the work.
Always self-effacing.
Dave,
David,
great.
Yeah.
Significant changes in the document.
Not really. I mean, well. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Mentioned that it's just between the three entities.
Yeah.
And the airport didn't sign off. That was the first version that the airport authority presented. Because in our view, what we were trying to do was get a procedure for the three sponsors to agree on an amount, so we didn't have to go begging to each one.
Well, and in number one, remember, this one talks about which parts of the original one are kept, deleted, have been taken care of.
that's your exhibit one.
Yeah,
Yeah, so anyway, so the first one we presented didn't have the airport authority, it had the airport authority acknowledging it, but they weren't a party to it. All the attorneys that reviewed it said, why isn't airport authority a party to it? So we stuck it back in. And then we get to the county and they said, well, this is just supposed to be between the three of us, isn't it? So they took it back out. So it's kind of the way the whole process went, but I think the airport authority will discuss it next week. And I still think we need to acknowledge it there because there are some obligations that the airport authority has that are in there, but we're not really a party to what it was trying to do. So it was an interesting process.
that's a good way to describe
Yeah.
it, interesting.
And a significant difference is Crystal Lake Township is in the MOU. We were not in the original, document, so that's a big change.
Yeah, and that was kind of where it started, and it was really taking the old MOU and just saying, just like townships in there. But it had all that other language that really had been done, so it really didn't, I don't think it accomplished what we were trying to do, which was come up with a process for the three groups, for them to get together, come up with a unified plan. Is that right, Mayor?
Well, I would like to explain how this all came about, and it wasn't on the city's behalf. This started with the county, because Crystal Lake was a part of that. And they sent it to their attorney, unbeknownst to us. And then they sent their version to us. Well, then I sent it to our attorney, because it would say that we had the most interest in it. And so he changed it, and then it went through your attorney, whole different, thing. So it went back and forth. I can't even count about months that we have spent on getting this. To me, the most important part of that is the three entities are gonna work together on that, on the say-so.
On the budget.
On the budget and how much each entity is gonna be equally presented, which was not in there before. So I think it's a good document showing that we're working together. And the betterment.
Yeah, I agree, exactly, because the whole point of having this mutual understanding, that's it, we have three entities. And this is really a mandated thing, we should have it,
Yes,
and we need to have an understanding, it's a simple form of giving an understanding of how the three entities will work together
Yeah.
on behalf of the airport. And it's a non-binding agreement, so I don't, another thing is.
It's non-binding?
Yeah, if you look at the actual, going back, yeah, it's simply just an understanding
and
between our three entities.
I think this would be used in a court of law.
Well, I suppose.
I don't know, you're right, it's not, it doesn't say a contract, but.
No, but I can show you, I think I got this material.
Well, you don't have to, I mean, we don't know.
The point is that if you really studied it and we go back to the Act of 1957, which is 2 years after I was born, that it's very clear why we have to have this, but more importantly, why we have to have this is because the three entities need to have some firm ground to stand on, some understanding of why this was originally put together in the first place. But more importantly, anytime our airport needs to have grants or funding, or not funding, but grants, if we don't have this, then they don't get it. And if we want to help support our.
I've never heard that either.
No, you gotta, yeah, because
If we didn't have a
memorandum. we
of
need it. This is
understanding,
one
it
of
would be
the-
an automatic, we don't get a grant?
On some of the grants, yes, because this is what they want. We are the party that is, part of this organization. If we can't agree, can't have a simple little document that says we have a standing understanding of this, there is a particular grant that they cannot get, and they were denied. And so we need to really do this. I think we have been operating without one ever since Crystal Lake Township became part of this organization, which was at 2006, I believe.
I think it says that in here.
Yes,
2006.
2006. That's, it's time now for us to just just look at this, it's just an understanding. It's just a simple understanding between three parties. In order to say, we're working together. And I like the idea that it's equal contribution. That was a big issue before. Now we'll see the budget. We can then anticipate how much funds do we need to put into this. But without having this in our, the administrator goes in for a grant and she cannot be awarded because this piece of paper isn't enforced.
See, I've heard other things that we didn't get grants for, and mostly it's been the overlay. I've never once
Yeah,
heard
it
that we
has,
didn't get
yeah,
one because of,
And we definitely need the overlay.
and they've always had a memorandum of understanding. It's not like they were without one.
Well, they had one, but it's really, I guess I'm only basing on what I went and looked into legal terms, not pertaining back to others. But we, as a Crystal Lake Township, part of that memorandum, right? So two of the entities had an agreement, but the third entity that came in 2006 didn't. I don't know why they didn't change it then. There's so many, but we can't go back in the past and say, hey guys, what were you up to? But we can only go at this point, and my recommendation is we prove this tonight and we go forward. Because the only way to make that airport successful is by having an understanding of all three parties. And I feel it's absolutely necessary that tonight I ask for your vote. I want everyone to approve this. Because it's just a simple form of an understanding. It is non-binding, because I can show you that in another document. It's just an understanding. That's it. Between three parties. And I honestly believe we have to do this in order to go forward. The next step after we do this, we get ourselves an overlay.
One step at a time.
One step at a time. I'll let this first. We'll talk about that one later.
And cash returns.
Okay, anybody else wanna say anything? I got lots to say, unfortunately,
Okay, go.
but I don't wanna usurp anyone else. I'm the fly in the ointment again. I said, I wholeheartedly, supported the airport. I want it to be here. I truly do. And my objections were, there was not a sound financial way forward presented yet. And that's huge. And I also, personally, nobody else has ever said this, but I think there's a need to update the structure for leadership. I don't think that the way it's structured now is going to be, allow the airport to be successful for another generation. So those are my two. I do feel great distress having to talk about this. And I want to therefore go on the record again, because I am so often misquoted or misunderstood. This has nothing to do with not appreciating Judy and Jill before that, and Sue and the lawyers and Dave and all that. It is nothing personal. It is absolutely, completely about the document itself. It does not address the structure. The structure for leadership. But it does very plainly on page 4 say, number 4, that the airport board by resolution shall adopt by majority of vote to borrow money when it needs to, and that there is a deficit in the budget. We're signing away that money and that power. If there are 4 other people on the board that say, yeah, ante up, we have to, because by majority vote, it says that's how they get money when they're running a deficit. And if we look at the deficit, or last year, it was $25,000. The budget is nothing. You can make any budget look like you're gonna take in enough money and not spend as much. But the fact is that we do have a lot of problems. You go on the airport website right now, which, by the way, when Joanne comes back, Brooke has done a great job on that. It was pretty bare bones at the beginning. Right now, it's just looking tremendous. But it is interesting that under airport funding and so forth, there's a column you can push for donations. And donations include $5,000 for fire safety. They don't have a Knox box yet. It goes into all this stuff that are major important things, and they're asking for donations for this.
Okay.
They need a budget and a way to get money, and it should not fall back to this small little clause here. If they don't have the money, they can vote, a majority vote can say, we're upping your donation. And that was our lawyer's biggest complaint was, how do you pay for this? And are you, as a board, ready to be liable for this?
I believe, my observation of this, and I wish I brought the wrong book tonight, I should have brought my airport book, which is even thicker, because I've done a lot of studying. This is directly out of the state law. It is right out of the 1957 Airport Act.
So do we want to be part of that?
We have to be, because you're authority. So we're automatically part of it. This language that's here is not any language that is different than what every single other airport operates on in the state of Michigan, because it is part of the document, the act. This is.
I don't know what I'd say to a taxpayer if, well, first of all, I think it's very interesting at how much an MOU actually weighs.
Right.
How much weight does it carry legally to bind us? You say it's non-binding.
It's non-binding. I wish I would have brought my other book, and I apologize. I have a lot of different cases that I carried, but I could show you those information. It's it's very clear.
I just don't have it in front of me. I don't understand it.
I wish I would.
And then I also don't understand why we have, I don't understand why we've got this is old. It's like a record playing again. Once we give authority to a volunteer and they are no longer representing the township. It says so in the bylaws that once they get on that authority, they are their own bosses. They do not have to please us.
That is also allowed in our Crystal Lake Township Code of Conduct in number 3.7.
How can you have two legal documents contradicting themselves then?
I don't think that the section that you're quoting obligates.
He doesn't
The
obligate.
three, it gives the airport authority the right to go out and get their own funding.
It does have that, but it also says to borrow money.
Right,
Right, they're not borrowing
But-
from us. We're
you have
giving it.
no obligation on that.
Yes, it does, because if we ever disagree, we can't walk away from that debt. If they borrow money, we're in.
We're in now.
Oh,
But we're in anyways. Honestly,
Yeah.
we are in
I
anyways.
disagree with that. Let me just say that. If the airport borrows money, then the airport has to pay it back. If you're in on some sort of agreement, then yeah, but right now, neither of the three entities have any obligation for indebtedness.
Resolution shall provide for the pledging of income and revenues of the airport authority not previously pledged for the payment of these notes, is what it says.
That's right.
So we pledged 15,000, but it says irregardless, that's not even a word, regardless. If it's not previously pledged, they shall provide for that pledging to make up the difference.
Where did,
And I'm not a lawyer, so if you're the lawyer and you promise me that they can borrow $100,000 and we're not in for it and we can walk away from that.
okay, that's right.
It's the same thing as when she says that there's, this carries no weight. I just like to see it.
I don't think you're reading that. Well,
What does it say then? You
it
don't.
says that the airport authority can go out and borrow money, and they pledge their own assets to pay it back.
Well, for example, what just happened? We had the Pines for 17, 13 years, whatever it was trying to get a settlement. We had a board that didn't do it. They didn't do their work. And so they had to then to pay their bill. What was it? It's close to $2 million. It's in her budget report. And so they can't afford fire stuff now because all the grants are going someplace else. I know you're getting mad. I'm just,
That's right, but it actually goes back 20 years, and that's the fire board, where the board chairman was running his own rogue operation.
right.
And the city fired him. And then there are people who worked very hard to get that straightened out. But his goal, I think this is right, would have torn down houses and businesses. They'd already,
Oh, if you want me to jump on the previous, it's been going on a long time. The community has real doubts about.
I think you're the only one that's real bad.
I know you've kind of intimated that before.
Well, I'm saying that, everybody, I heard, the airport has to pay 1.8 million to cut trees. No, it's not just trees. It's so that Steve can't expand his business. He can't go up to 2 stories. That's where all that came from. Now, yeah, trees have to be cut, but that's not 1.8 million.
Well, I can't say what somebody told you
I'm
about.
talking,
No.
okay?
All right, Dave.
None of the 3 entities are obligated for any of that. I think we all agree on that.
I don't agree.
Okay, well, everybody else agrees on it.
Okay.
That's it.
You did you sit in on the meeting with the Zoom call with the lawyer?
Yes, both of them. And basically, let's boil it down to what he said. MOU, no matter what, all this stuff, what it comes down to is you either want the airport or you don't.
There's a caveat. He said, do you want it with the money or not? With the financial obligation or not?
I won't follow that. He says you either want it or you don't.
It's like saying, do I want a new house or not? It comes with the bill. And he said, that's what you've got to decide.
Okay, we'll go on, take a vote, you can vote against it.
Ken, is there wording that could be added that would clarify this for everybody?
Right now,
They've already
Right out
passed
of the
it.
state, it comes right out of the act, it's what we agree, it's what you guys, I believe, even without this. The same language applies to our organization to begin with. When it goes back to the state act, anything that's in there, when Crystal Lake decided to join this group, and they decided to join the authority, they bound themselves to this language. All right? The only thing is they didn't do a clear job of making sure that this was, that there was some type of an agreement between the 3 parties. There's a number of things they didn't do right. If they would have looked a little further, the overlay should have been done a long time ago. And some of their problems would not have occurred.
Well, I want to give a good pat on the back for Brooke. Things are really happening now.
Yep, it is.
But think of how long we had representatives from this board to that authority where nothing got done. And I question it constantly. Like, shouldn't we be doing this stuff? Everything's fine. Sit back, get out of the way, Amy.
Well, I think, Amy, just as I said earlier, sign it, we agree, and we go forward. We can't go backwards in time. We can't correct the mistakes of other people and other boards. But we have.
Oh, I agree with that.
And we have to begin the process of going forward. And this is an important issue to go forward.
And I'm here but a blink of an eye. I don't want to obligate without fully understanding that there are no risks involved. Future generations to money that it's gonna really cost.
Yeah. I think future generations were already part of that obligation when in 2006, this board decided to join the group.
You might say that.
And I believe it is because I studied the act. I'm sorry it's not here. I put it in my other book because we were talking about it earlier and I should have brought it with me. I studied it, I highlighted it. It's part of the 1957 Act. I mean, this is the same language. And I just feel it's not gonna make any difference.
So if you're talking about the airport cleaning up its act, 2006, Crystal Lake Township wanted to join because there was like bogus surveys or whatever. And the Airport Authority Board at the time had convinced MDOT, Aero, that everybody was in favor of expanding the runway and doing all that. But they hadn't done a survey. They had fake numbers in there. And so township people were outraged. So that's why the township wanted to join, right?
You're right, and that's why we had a senator come down because there was so much conflict and we had this public hearing.
Yeah, and so the board, after it got, well, I mean, it had a weird structure. So you had the board, at that time, we had 5 people. But they had committees, they had an airport, they had a chairman, an airport manager, and an airport administrator. I mean, and then they had all these committees in there, they all yelled at each other. And I've read 64 articles in the paper that covered all that. And yeah, it was a mess because somebody wanted to expand the runway to 4,000 feet. It is 4,000 feet, but if you're landing this way, you can't use the first 1,000. Isn't that right?
Displaced threshold, yeah.
And
I'm not arguing about all that. I
well,
believe you.
yes, you are. You're trying to blame this current airport board and everything for what one did in the past.
No, you misheard me. I said that going forward, we needed a better structure. I think, for example, we needed somebody more professional on it that knows these things.
More professional, but
A more professional manager and someone who knows about airports.
okay, so you've got a manager now that was on the board for 8 years. You've got a chairman who's been there 10 years. You've got board members. I mean, Ken Lawrence goes back to all that controversy. It's a good board, and it's the board's job to run the airport.
Well, let's not get into an argument whether it's a good board or not.
Well, that's what you're talking about.
I'm saying that I'm trying to be as polite and diplomatic as possible to say that we need a better structured way to run the airport. Then
That's not your role.
That's not.
you can say that, but I feel it is.
Well, you're wrong.
And I came really prepared to have, be convinced that in both of these ways, and I feel like I've been really met with aggression. And I'm just trying to tell you, Dave, that I don't believe in why, okay?
I get it.
Hey,
Okay.
here's what I'm hearing Sue say that makes the most sense to me. In 2006, we became part of it, which meant that document you didn't bring applies to us.
We know that 2006, we have all those, they
All
put
this is
6 different motions during the summer. They couldn't even get it straight.
Okay, all this is doing is making sure 3 people, 3
Entities.
are, it's not changing anything that's already in place.
I don't like that.
Okay,
Can't help it, it's gonna be there, either we put it here, so you don't see it. But it's still part of it.
it still applies.
Still-
Number 4 is the exact
It is.
paragraph from the community.
And no, it says CLT, it tells you where to go look for it.
So-
So I don't like it. I do not want to be financially obligated to it.
I have, Matt,
So I have a question, just because I'm hearing this, so. If the airport authority were out, as you're saying, they need to loans, get some money, they got some money. the place folded up. Who's on the line for the money?
Technically, I think, because I'm not a lawyer, it's the authority.
Yeah, right.
But what is the authority made of?
Well, earlier we said if the FAA takes it over and they want their 3 million out of it, they're gonna get 3 million when they sell it. So are they gonna get the money, if it folds up, the FAA takes the property over, and when they sell it, are they gonna pay those loans off out of the
Two
money they
different
make? on it?
things. If it closes, that's one scenario.
Correct, that's what I'm getting to. They go out and they get money, because I think that's what you're worried about, them going out and securing some money from a loan that then the township's on the line for.
Yes,
Right, that's what
because
you're
it does
concerned
say that.
with. Yes,
It's,
that's what you're concerned,
Yeah.
and that's my question, is if they loan money and the place folds up and the FAA takes it over, they're not coming to the township for the money, I don't believe. They're probably gonna sell the property, and the money out of the property is gonna pay.
two
the
separate
loan.
situations. If we go bankrupt and it folds, I'm talking about just day-to-day stuff where they need to borrow money. That's a different scenario.
Right, but that with the money they borrow, then they're gonna have to pay the note on it. And at some point in time, if they can't pay the note, that's what you're worried about, who's on the line for it.
Actually, even the resolution to borrow money is voted on
Right.
by
You
people.
don't have a word, and they have a word in it.
It's in the majority vote,
Right.
yes. So that it is obligating us, I think, by majority vote. Now, the
Yeah.
saving grace to that is that I don't think that the county or Frankfort City wants to pay extra. They go out and borrow $100,000 for a new fire suppression system. You know, we may not want to pay for that, but I bet you the county and city don't either.
I
That's the
think
only saving grace for that.
the only, obligation in my view is our yearly contribution to them. That's it. That's the only obligation we have. We are not responsible for any of their debts. That's up to the authority.
If you want to get out of this, we are responsible for the debts. If we don't like the way it's going, you get another guy who wants to now expand it to 25,000 feet. Then you don't know. There's been lots of boards that have supported funny things before.
Now
Well,
you're
it's-
talking
that's-
about the future, and
Future.
the attorney said you can't know what the future is going to bring with anything. He said that in our meeting.
Fathers had to think of the future. What are you talking about? Don't pay
I
attention
know,
to the
but
future. You plan for the future and you don't obligate somebody.
I'm not saying it right.
Okay, say it again so I understand.
When we were meeting with the attorney, you were talking about future boards and everything, and we can't, I don't remember his exact words, Dave. We can't try to worry about that. I mean, we have to go with what we have today, plan some for the future, but I'm still not saying it right. Can't say it like the attorney did.
Our board, for example, has checks and balances. If we're not doing the job, there's some sort of check and balance. If we don't like what they're doing, we have a vote, but I'm still worried about the majority vote can override our best interests.
You
I
cannot.
understand what you're
You
saying.
cannot bind the township. The township would have to.
Not directly. And I keep saying that,
No.
and not directly. Yes, the authority is its own authority and its own little government. We all understand that, right? Okay, so nobody's arguing that.
Isn't that why we have, representatives on the board from each one of the counties? They're supposed to report to you as they have to report to us.
But it makes no difference. It's in the bylaws. Read it very particularly. It says, once they leave here, their allegiance is to that authority, not from the source where they came from. And that's one of my suggestions. If somebody were ever gonna ask me, I'd say, why don't we have more than just Crystal Lake Township being represented here? Why isn't it more than just 3 entities? It's a county
It could be.
service. But that's going down, paddling down a canoe that we don't need to get into.
No.
But the bylaws do say that their allegiance is not to where they came from, it's to the authority. So. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, Dave, roll call.
Wright,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Barrett,
No,
Marble,
Yes.
VanMeter, yes.
can I also say something? When I came in here, especially this, I think needs to be heard by Dave. I really didn't know how I was gonna vote, but the way this discussion went convinced me. So it's unfortunate, because I really was absolutely 50-50, not knowing which way to go. So, that was passed, and so that is done with. The next thing is the blight.
Blight. Blight, yes, interesting topic, the blight. Well, we have been dealing with it, we have been meeting on a regular basis, we've got some plans in action. Right at this moment, we are trying to attempt to reach the parties and have a personal conversation with them. If we cannot reach them, then we will proceed with going ahead with the filing penalties and going forth. You know, making the steps that are necessary, there's 3 different penalties, you know, going forth. So, but right now, we're really trying to reach out to them.
Have you heard from any of them?
We heard from Jen, we heard from one, and we need to sit back and have a further conversation. The other parties, I have contact phone numbers, I just don't get an answer. So, hopefully, we just keep trying, but we are going to be sending out a 3rd letter to all of the individuals that have the questionable, properties. We will ask them to contact us, as we want to sit down and talk with them about their plans. If we do not hear from them, then we will take the next step, and it will be in the letter.
Well, and the more paperwork you have that shows how many times you reach out, the better it is. It'll look in court if we have to go that far, so
Definitely.
it's just a slow process.
It's a slow process. I would love to make this as easy and make it as humanitarian as we can, but I think we really do need to move on some of these properties. And we have the avenues to be able to do that.
Yeah, I'm really for speeding ahead, because the summer months are gonna be gone before you know it, and cleaning up and doing all this, or even evicting somebody in the winter is.
If we're gonna get it moving, as we will, there will be some action taken in next month, for sure.
Great. Any other questions?
A question for Matt. One of our meetings, you were talking about some training that you were looking into.
Yep, I got the signs from Amy, and we doing all those that Abby had sent to me to get caught up, and then look through the MTA website also, and add more.
Okay.
Because I think what Sue was just saying, I think one of the hardest things with the properties is that we need to make sure we're talking to the right person. And the person living on the property may not be the person who owns the property, as you know, in our meetings. There's a lot of research that needs to be done on who the actual person is to talk to. And that's the one thing I want to make sure is that when we go somewhere, we know exactly what we are, all our I's are dotted and the lowercase j's also.
I would encourage you to take in a conference and see that you really get all the information and hear from people that are working it. And you'll hear from the MTA experts how to do it. And that gave me a lot more confidence when looking into it.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Cemeteries, just the update is that we do have somebody, 2 persons now mowing. We split up the job between the bigger North Cemetery and this cemetery. And so, the complaints still come in. I got accosted by somebody yesterday about how awful that looked for Memorial Day, but we're on our way to trying to resolve that. We have had, I think, 4 or 5 funerals so far, burials, and just as many, plot sales.
Selling a lot of plots.
So, what does that mean?
I
Yeah,
know, a lot of
it's like
planning.
Armageddon, it's on its way.
Did you go out today and look at the new contractor?
Yes, they weren't able to finish because, they're still trimming, but it started raining, so they promised they'll finish tomorrow, so. An environmental update?
We met on June 5th, and there were 5 of us here at the hall. Our fearless leader, Abby, wasn't here, so we sort of winged it. But several of the people were new, so we sort of backtracked and talked about our mission and our vision. And one of the gals said we should determine a baseline and decide how we want to move forward on various issues, instead of being reactionary to something that comes up. We're gonna meet again on July 3rd at 5 o'clock, and the guest speaker will be my daughter. She just got her master's in environmental sustainability engineering, so they wanna pick her brain.
Cool.
Good.
Very cool.
That's all I have.
Okay, good, thank you. Library, you've got a resolution in front of you to reappoint James Larson, who we met the other day.
Yeah.
He came in and so forth. What a sweetie. He's been our representative for many years now. So therefore, the Board of Directors of Crystal Lake Township reappoints constituent James Larson to readjusted to I think that was auto correct. What was that word supposed to be? To a reappointment, probably. What was that? I don't know what that word is. Sorry. I didn't have you proof it ahead.
Well, but you did readjust the term. Up in the first
Oh,
paragraph.
that's what it refers to. It is a readjusted term.
Just leave it.
Okay, sorry. To a current term effective June 15th, 2025 through June 15th, 2028. I so move. Do I support?
I'll support.
Thank you. And any questions about reappointing James?
See, he is so proud of the airport. I had never met him and he came in and he just.
The airport?
What he thinks in my head, library. He's very proud of the airport too, but mostly the library.
Saying that.
Is that the same Jim Larson that was on there? His wife was that what's the representative?
Yeah,
Still around?
Yeah, he looks great.
definitely. So roll call when you're ready.
Ferris,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes,
Marvel,
Yes.
Camden, yes.
Great.
good selection.
And then we're talking about short-term rentals.
Elaine is not here, but she and I have been talking. She is working on, she's plagiarizing the city and anybody else who can get their hands on it, finalizing our application. And that will be ready to go, in August, but it will go live with it in September. Just to remind everybody, we didn't go live this year because most people had their rentals set up. So we are just gathering information. Elaine said, we sent our surveys out. She's had approximately 35 come back. A third of the people didn't even need to fill it out. A third of the people won't need permits. And a third will need them. So of the 35, our numbers are pretty close. The main calls we get are you going to get to the 75 that we threw the dart at the wall? And I don't believe we are even going to come close, and that's what our surveys are showing us. Elaine thinks now that summer, we're getting busier, people are coming back. She's hoping to see more of the surveys come back. And talk to you about throwing something out on a banner on the website to make sure you go look at our short-term rental information.
Yeah, I told Elaine, just tell me what to put up there, I'll put it up.
So she's fielding the phone calls, people call, I take them here, but she's active.
Are they issuing, or there's no permits?
No,
But they're registered?
no, all we're asking for is to fill the survey out and let us know if you advertise and are you going to be part of our process next year? But people didn't read the letter real carefully, so they're all filling it out, whether they need it or not. And we're fine with that. Rather have the information than not.
Any other questions? All right, zoning, I don't think we have a zoning rep here today, so that's a goner, you can cross that out. Old business? Any new business? Any public comment?
I can say something about zoning.
Okay, go.
About zoning, okay.
We're halfway through the year and we really haven't settled on our topics yet this year. But it looks like, land divisions is going to be the one. And,
I think in the minutes,
Yes, we were
It's-
directed to do several different things
yeah, we gotta
by the board.
correcting that, about making, a parcel in our township tax, or not tax exempt from zoning, because they're another government entity, we're looking into that.
3.28.
right, well, that's the other one that's.
And the master
And the
plan.
master plan is a biggie. And then a couple of us have also said, we have a couple of pet issues, like Sandra and I, about, people leaving their garbage cans out and things like that, and people hauling their junk and putting a for sale sign on it at the road, whether we can tighten up some of those, the wording in that. So.
I haven't seen that.
So anyway, that's that. Now public comment. Joanne.
I just wanna, Joanne Holbert, 675 Day Avenue, Frankfort. About your short-term rental, of our experience, we were at 120. We're now down to 109. And with the feedback we're getting, matter of fact, two of our big renters have two of their houses up for sale. So the feedback that we're getting, people are not spending the money like they did. And more people are dropping out of short-term rentals.
Because it just isn't profitable enough for them.
That's correct.
People are tight with their
Well,
dollars.
and the economy, I think, has a lot to do with it too.
Yeah.
I just wanted to pass on what our experience is.
Excellent.
So
Thank you.
we're looking more for long-term rentals. Which is a dire need.
Yeah.
So.
Any other public comment at this time? Okay, Rich, you have nothing to say?
Well, you said it all, but I think it's wise that your appointees to that board hold that board's feet to the fire, not just be a sign on for everything. I think all the entities, whether it's the county or just township. It's a double-edged sword. When you join this agreement, you're agreeing to pay, but you also get some say in how that airport is run.
By your representative.
And so you should use your power that you have with your members on those boards to make sure everything gets managed right. Because I think if you have a very good point though about managing the airport, because if you went back to like 2010 and looked at what it costs to run an airport and what it costs to run it right now, I think you guys, your eyes would be quite large at the difference of expenses that are coming out of that airport in the last 10 years. 15 years, and it's more than just the cost of living. So management determines how much you spend. Lawsuits and things like that are just terrible to have. And that reflects the management. The decisions you make determine whether you end up in court or not. So I think you have responsibility, but you have a power when you take it on. So.
Anyone else? Matt? Mike? Dave? All right. Board comment, there's just a reminder that Back to Basics webinars are available about FOIA. And we continue, as any government does, to get a lot of FOIAs. So, it's kind of behooves us if we're having lunch just to listen to that. So good lunchtime activity.
Sounds
Okay.
fabulous.
Anything else?
I want to thank you. That's all I want to do. Thank you.
And I thank all of you. It's what, I don't even have the official time.